Good morning, everyone. This is Todd Brow with Senior Insurance Marketing, and we are excited to have a brand new final expense product out. It just launched, matter of fact, today, and it's a brand new final expense with an irrevocable trust to it. Also has some great features to it: accelerated death benefit for terminal illness, nursing home confinement, and also grandchild's rider as well too. So without further ado, I have Gary Sorensen with GCU that's going to talk about the Eternal Advantage, the final expense product that just launched. And Gary, I'm just going to swing it over to you and tell us some more about this product.
Sure. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate everybody taking a few moments to get online to learn a little bit about GCU and our new final expense instant decision called Eternal Advantage. Before we get going too far, I think the key thing here is, most people want to know, who is GCU? Well, GCU has been around since 1892. We started with 700 immigrants, I'm sorry, with about just $600. We're a nonprofit fraternal life insurance company. What does that mean? That means that as a member of the fraternal organization, you get extra benefits, and I'll talk about that here in just a second. But just to talk about GCU as far as our strength and stability, I mean, we started with just 700 people. Now we're up to 45,000 people with over $2 billion in assets. We focus on life and annuities. But like I said before, we're a fraternal life insurance company, which means we offer additional benefits that are beyond just simply what the product offers. So our benefit portfolio, just to give you just some high level stuff, we have scholarships available for our youth. We have a debt reduction program to help offset some college expenses. We have some charity campaigns that will match funds to that a member, and to be a member, you just have to purchase a policy from GCU, has the ability to get into. We also have an affinity program where you get discounts on different, car insurance, hearing aids, some of those different things. So those are some additional soft benefits that you don't necessarily think about when you meet with an insurance company, but as a not-for-profit, those are things that we bring to the table that kind of sets us apart. And again, as a nonprofit life insurance companies, we focus on building our members and doing things for our members specifically. But let's talk about the product. Why are we here today? Well, we're here to talk about that Eternal Advantage product. It's a final expense product. We're approved in 28 of the 29 states that we're approved to do business in. And we're looking to expand into other states, but this is kind of the map as to where we are currently licensed to be able to conduct business. California is our only outstanding state. We're still waiting for approval from California, but the other 28 territories that we're licensed in to be able to do business, we're there to do that. But let's get into the product specifications in regards to it. So the Eternal Advantage is good for preferred, both tobacco and non-tobacco. Preferred is available. Our issue ages are from 45 to 85. It's actually attained age. So if they're 84 and 7 months, they still qualify as being age 84. It's a level death benefit. Minimum death benefits $5,000. Maximum is $35,000. And then we have some riders. We have and I'll kind of start from the bottom up, the grandchild rider, where they're able to actually purchase a little piece of term insurance on the grandchild. And actually with that particular rider, you can actually add more grandchildren on the policy if they want to, as they're born, as they have more grandkids added to their lives. We also have the nursing home waiver premium and accelerated death benefit for terminal illness and nursing home confinement. Those kind of vary from state to state. So we'll have to kind of go out and verify that. So I know that this is a national webinar, so it kind of varies from state to state. The policy fee is $40. That $40 policy fee is commissionable that first year, so you know that that's beneficial to you as well. So our preferred, again, 45 to 85, level death benefit, maximum face $35,000. Policy fee is commissionable, and it's both preferred for tobacco and non-tobacco use. Our standard is kind of that next level down. So again, 45 to 85 are my issue ages. It is a level death benefit, minimum face 5,000, maximum 25,000. This one's a little bit different because you only have the availability of the nursing home waiver premium. So you don't have the accelerated death benefit available with this particular, with this underwriting class. The grandchild rider is available as well. It has that same $40 commissionable policy fee in that first year. It's available for both tobacco and non-tobacco. So now I have 4 different underwriting classes to date as I go through the product specifications. So again, 45 to 85 level death benefit, maximum face 25, minimum 5. You have 2 different riders potentially to choose from in the policy fee that is commissionable during that first policy year. The last but not least is we have modified. We actually have modified tobacco, modified non-tobacco as well. So for those that have a little bit more, a few more dings in their health record, let's say, they have the ability to get that modified. Again, 45 to 85. During the first 3 policy years, it's a return of premium plus 10%. Starting that 4th year, it goes to that level death benefit. For a modified individual, the maximum death benefit available to them is $15,000. Again, that minimum is 5. There's no riders available, and they do have that $40 commissionable fee that happens during that first policy year. That policy fee happens each and every year, but it is commissionable during that first policy year. When we went through this whole process, we went out and tried to come in and be as competitive as possible. So one of the things that we have that makes us a little bit different from a lot of our competition is we actually have a company generated irrevocable burial trust. I only know of 2 companies in the industry right now that have a company generated irrevocable burial trust, or IBT is the acronym that we use. It's used quite often for Medicaid planning. That money is not counted towards that spend down aspect of it. So that money is allocated away, it's put together, it's completely portable. So it's one of those things where you can actually attach this to any one of those underwriting classes, from the preferred, the standard, the modified, that bypasses probate. It's irrevocable, and that's the key in order for that Medicaid planning. And we find that when we do the irrevocable burial trust, that money the clients tend to be very focused on what the purpose of that money is for, and they make sure that it's funded. So you actually have better persistency as an agent when you use that irrevocable burial trust. That burial trust, again, is company generated. If somebody wanted to go out and create a trust, it's going to cost them probably a minimum of $400 to $600. And so that's one of those things of having this in place is, knowing that you have that trust there. The trust is only available for issue ages 50 to age 85, right? And it's available with all underwriting classes, like I said before. What we've done is we've actually taken this trust form and included it in the e-application, because this is done via an e-app is how we're set this up. And I'll talk about the e-app here in just a second. But, inside of the document of our marketing materials, the irrevocable burial trust sets kind of a maximum death benefit that's available or that can be set aside for those individuals. And it varies based on the state that you live in. And so we have a guide, an irrevocable burial trust guide, that actually gives the maximums by state. Now, just point out that of the states where we're approved to do business in, there's 2 states that have not approved the irrevocable burial trust. That's Michigan and West Virginia. And so those are states in which they'll have to go out and create their own trust if they want to move money outside of their estate in order to match or meet the things needed for Medicaid planning, doing those things together. So key component, making sure that we have this all together. Again, and it varies based on state. So if you happen to be in Iowa, it's a $15,000 maximum. If you happen to be in Kansas, it's a $7,000 maximum is that you can purchase policy. And those all fit within the criteria of the final expense Eternal Advantage product that GCU offers. So one of the things that I want to do is I want to introduce you to the microsite that holds all the information about our final expense policy. And that's finalexpense.gcuusa.com. There's no www in front of it, but again, it's finalexpense.gcu.com. When it comes up to this, basically a microsite, the banner of it actually includes the direct access to the e-application. And so once you get contracted with Senior Insurance Marketing, you'll be able to have an agent number and be able to go through and do the e-app and get that put together. But in the interim, on that particular page, there's actually all the agent resources. So you can actually go out and see the underwriting guide, the premium rate book, so you get an idea of what we did as far as product pricing, at a glance, the final expense worksheet, and then there's the Irrevocable Burial Trust Agent Guide. And I recommend that you go out and pull that down and take a quick read of that. It's a powerful tool, especially in that final expense marketplace, because again, you're moving that money outside of that Medicaid spend down piece of it. You have better persistency with that money, and it just makes a lot of sense. So, we anticipate a lot of people taking advantage of it. And again, for an individual to go out and set up their own individual trust costs them money. This is a company generated one that's approved by the state that meets all the criteria to make that happen. But as we go through this, I just want to kind of go through the e-application with you just so you see how it looks and just so you're not caught off guard when it comes up. So let's just kind of get into that. So you go again to that microsite, that finalexpense.gcuusa.com. It pulls you up. You'll push on one of the red buttons, and that takes you into the e-application. When you come to the e-application, it's going to ask you to pick the state, and probably input a date of birth of the individual that you're meeting with, and then it'll choose your agent account, which will pre-populate once you get registered on the website. You'll be able to have that kind of, have access to getting the e-app. It'll also will show the most recent e-apps that you've submitted. So you have kind of a record of when you did those. You can actually go back in from this landing page, in essence, to be able to modify or change the e-application. Once the e-app is submitted, though, you cannot make changes. So if it's an incomplete application, it sits here, you get the information needed, come back out here, you can complete it from that point going forward. So just so you see what it looks like. So when you pull up the e-app and it goes to this next level, there on the left-hand side is going to be kind of the list of the laundry list that you have to go through in order to get through the underwriting process. And again, the idea behind this is it's an instant decision. That decision is made, typically within 3 to 5 minutes. We're finding that we're getting answers back in less than 60 seconds. So I want to, under promise and over deliver. So, I'm going to say less than 5, but in reality, it's coming back within about 60 seconds or so. So here's how we go. So we have to start out with kind of that acknowledgement for both you as the producer and the client. You're going to notice that every one of the sections that a client has to complete or has to be completed by the agent is going to have a little yellow box around it. So if they don't complete that section, it's not going to allow them to submit the application. It's going to kick it out, say there's some errors. You'll have to go back in and get those corrected. So we kind of go through this whole process, right? So within the introduction, you'll put in the first name, the last name of the client, their gender, their date of birth, because you put that in on the first screen, shows up here. So it pre-populates as much as it can. It puts in your agent name and your agent number that's associated with. And then we get into basically our knockout questions. These are those first few questions that say, okay, if you have this condition, if you answer yes to any of these conditions, you're not going to qualify for the GCU policy. You'll probably have to go out to a guaranteed issue. But just so you know, you have these questions that are sitting out there so you can actually go out and take a look at those things to address those. I actually have one of our underwriters online with us as well. It's Amy Douglas. Amy, do you want to I unmuted you here. Do you want to make any comments in regards to eligibility questions that are on the website?
I mean, as far as the eligibility, it's pretty self-explanatory. Just needing to make sure that any of these conditions that they don't actually, they don't have. Most of our questions in the eligibility, other than in the past 12 months, are ever. So if they, have a past history of dialysis or, any type of, they had cirrhosis in the past, but it's currently managed, that's still, irrelevant since it's an ever question.
So just for clarification, so it's not like had they had it in the past 2 years or the past 3 years. This is it if they've ever had it at all, correct?
For those, yeah, the 12 months is the, have they been hospitalized, and then in the last 5 years, whether they've had, been advised to have surgery or testing, as far as the knockout. Those are the only ones that are not ever.
Okay, great. Thanks, Amy. I'm going to talk. You're going to be talking here again some more, so just stay with me here, okay? So after you fill out the eligibility questions, let's say that they answered no to all those, and they can move on to the next section. So now's when we're going to start actually inputting some of that client information that's really important, and that's that social security number, their marital status, their employment, their occupation, annual income. Why is this important to us? Well, because as a company, we actually have to do the know your client, and it's called OFAC check. Basically, we do background checks to make sure they are who they said they are. We check them against the, some registries to make sure they're not criminals, that kind of stuff. And so we go in and ask that. And so, are they a member of GCU? Yes or no? If they have a driver's license. And then it continues on through that page. They ask for their date of birth, the city they were born. And again, the reason those are important is because that helps us kind of hone down to find that person. Because if you have a John Smith, there are thousands of John Smiths. We need to be able to kind of break that down to be more specific in regards to that. And then, of course, we have to have, the current, address, their phone, their primary phone number. One of the things I do want to point out is we don't call back out to the client after we go through this process. So all this is done instantaneously. It's done on the spot. If there is a callback to happen, we actually call you the agent. We don't call the client. We know how hard you work to get in front of the clients, and we don't want to per se affect that sale. We want to make sure that you are the voice with that individual and have that credibility built with them. So those are key components in that. So after they've completed all of the insured information, then we come into the questions that have to do with the modified section. So Amy, do you want to talk about the modified section just a little bit for me, please?
Yeah, so the modified section actually starts, there's a couple questions that are, for everybody. That's where we have our name of personal care physician. Anybody age 60 or older needs to have an actual primary care physician. So, if they're receiving care at an acute care center, a minute clinic or something like that, that does not count. We also don't want the name of like the local emergency room or hospital. It needs to be their actual physician, at least the street address. And then, city and state. This is where they would put the date of their last physical. And it just needs to be sort of close to that. We know that not everybody knows the exact date, but we do want it to be close. So, 5 years ago, it needs, that would not count. If they're age 65 and above, they have to have had 65 to 70, they have to have had a physical within the last 2 years. 70 and above, it's within the last 12 months. Now we are, we will look at that. If it's close, we do take that into consideration. This is where their height and weight goes in. And then also, in the last 12 months, have you used any type of tobacco, e-cigarettes, things like that? That does not make them a modified class. It's just where flow it got put. So, those questions from cigarettes up need to be answered. but they do not, of course, make it modified. And then where it starts at, have you ever been diagnosed or taken medication, leukemia, lymphoma, that type of thing, that's where the modified questions actually start. So if they answer yes to the next several questions, then that would make them a modified risk.
Okay. Cool. Thank you, Amy. So if they answered, so if they go through that and they answered no to all those questions, then we actually get into the actual quick underwriting questions. So I guess I'm coming right back to you again, Amy, here about the health questions. So these
Right.
health questions help determine if they're standard or preferred, correct?
Correct. So if they answer yes to anything in the health questions, then they are a standard risk. If they answer yes to 2 of these, then they may be offered a modified offer. If all the answers to these are no, then they, may be approved for preferred. Once again, just pay attention to the ones that ask forever. And then the other ones do have, there are some time periods. Now, one thing is to notice on the bipolar, it's if they've ever had bipolar or been hospitalized or had a suicide attempt in the past 2 years for any mental health issue. So if they had depression and were hospitalized for that a year ago, then that would be a yes to that answer. And then the following one is in the past 3 years.
Okay, those are good things to point out to make that effect. And so, when they complete all these health questions, Amy, do you want to just talk about kind of the back end process of what do we go out and look at with this real quick?
Yeah, so the system goes out and pulls prescription history and MIB. We have over 1,500 rules for prescription history. So we tried to go through and put as many of those that we can have flow through immediately in there. There are some that are referred to underwriter and some combinations that will do that. We've tried to make that, in the agent report list as many of those as we can. If there's something in the prescription history that we need to clarify, we will send out an email to the writing agent, ask them to re-ask a question and clarify what this was utilized for. And then the other thing is for MIB codes. We have suppressed ones that are not relevant to our application, but if we do have MIB hit codes, then that will refer to the underwriter also. We do try to look at them as promptly as possible. So, usually within a few hours, but it could be up to 24 hours till we look at it and either get back to you with an offer or clarification question.
Right. So what can happen is you can get your approval right away on the spot. You could have what we call a refer to underwriter, where it comes back and it's reviewed, or a decline. So in the declines, Amy, you're currently, you guys are reviewing the declines just to make sure that everything is showing up correctly and
Yes.
that we're not missing something, correct?
So right now we are reviewing all declines. You also could get a modified offer in the EAP system if it is something that is just our rules have allowed that states that, somebody applied for preferred. However, let's say they were on insulin within the past 3 years, according to prescriptions, then they would get an offer for standard through the EAP system. So they could get an offer, and then they would just need to accept that offer. We are in the process right now. Well, we'll get into that a little further down. So, but they could receive an offer through the EAP system.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So once we go through these parts, so we're asking the questions up front, and once they kind of answer these questions, then we have to go in and just kind of complete the application as is. And so, the majority of the time, the owner and the insured are going to be the exact same individual. If you say no, actually what it will do is it'll open up a drop-down box, and that's where they can actually choose the irrevocable burial trust as the owner, and it will auto-populate that information. It'll also auto-populate the beneficiary, because when you use the irrevocable burial trust, the trust has to be both the owner and the beneficiary of that policy. And the individual is, of course, the insured. And then we want to make sure that we know what state it's being signed in. So we have to, and that's part of the protocol of making sure that the product's approved in that state, and that you as the agent are approved to sell in that state as well, because you have to be licensed and approved with GCU prior to soliciting in that state. So again, that owner information is important to have that out there. And then what we do is we get into the beneficiaries. And so there's 2 beneficiary tabs, and you'll notice here on the left-hand side, we have check marks along the way that when that section is completed and it's in good order, it lets you go to that next section. So the primary beneficiary, again, you go in there, you put in the name, first name, last name, date of birth. We ask for, the percentage that's there. One thing that we will ask is, if you do not know a social security number, do not put a number in there. Leave it blank. That's okay. It's there. If you have it, that's great, because that helps us when we do have to settle a claim, or when a death does happen, we do have to pay it out. It does help us immensely in finding those individuals. But if you do not have the social security number, please do not put anything in that field. The only fields that are required are those that are highlighted in yellow. You have to make sure, again, that when you do that percentage of share, it has to equal 100, no matter how many beneficiaries you have listed to do those things. So a key component to do those. We also have the contingent beneficiary. Basically, the beneficiary's beneficiary, right? The first beneficiary dies, you have that contingent that falls on the backside. Ask exactly the same questions. And again, I want to just emphasize again, that we want to make sure that you complete that information, but if it's not in a yellow field, it's not required. Then we come to the place where we actually kind of do that premium calculation. So you put in the effective date of the policy. It has to be within the 30 days of you taking the application. We put in the face amount. So we're always going to underwrite for the preferred level first to see what, get the best value for the client as we can. And then you input that face amount, and then you select the payment frequency. Down below here where it says calculate the quote, what you'll do is once you put in that face amount and the frequency, the calculate the quote will actually give you what that monthly premium would be, or annual premium, or quarterly or biannual premium would be. And that way you get at least an idea of what it would be in the best case scenario, depending on how the underwriting goes. So again, this is where you can actually go out and get that premium quote done for you up front. And then it goes in and we ask kind of those basic questions that everybody has to ask based on the NAIC, National Association of Insurance Commissioners, requires to ask, do you have any of the policies in effect, all that kind of information. And then it asks you some questions as the agent, right? Did you give them the privacy notice? Are you related to the individual? The contracts, the final expense contracts are going to be sent directly to the client, or as in the GCU terminology, it's called the member, because when they buy a policy, they become a member of the GCU. So if you call the home office, you'll hear us use the word member rather than client. Just know those are synonymous with each other. And then you want to make sure that you include your agent phone number. So if there's a question that we have, we're not going to call the client, we're going to call you. So I need to make sure that you put in your agent phone number. And then again, if you're choosing to split the commission with somebody else, maybe it's a joint call, this is where you'd actually input the information of the second individual that'll be on the application. Then we get into the premium type, right? So they kind of get to choose that draft day. And again, it has to happen within 30 days of taking that application. We are only taking premium via an EFT, direct withdrawal from their checking and or savings account. We have to have a routing number. We have to have the account number. Just know that if you are using the savings account, savings accounts have rules, special rules about the number of withdrawals. GCU will not reimburse if the withdrawal to fund this policy forces them to actually have a service fee. We're not reimbursing for that. So again, if you're using the savings account, you have to be aware of that. We prefer the checking accounts. And then the payer, of course, is typically going to be that individual themselves, or if you have a third-party designation, maybe you have a child that's actually paying for it on the behalf of their parents. This is a place where you'd actually add bits and pieces in regards to that. From there, you complete the HIPAA form, because we can't really go out and do all those gyrations without having that HIPAA form signed. And so you'll click on agree, and then it brings you kind of to the end of it where you request the underwriting. And at this point in time is where it goes out. It does all those things. It goes out to the MIB. It does that script check. It goes through all those different pieces, that logarithm in the background. And comes back and with basically our instant decision, right? And our instant decision is going to be either preferred tobacco, non-tobacco, standard tobacco, non-tobacco, or modified tobacco, non-tobacco, or it's going to be declined. I'm hoping it's not the last. I'm hoping it's the first. So we want to provide the best value for our clients as possible. In some of our underwriting criteria, and again, this is just, for just to give you an idea of kind of, in that weight category, if they tend to be height challenged, in some situations they are, we kind of come into, the maximum amount of weight and the standard weight where we sit in those criteria. And then there's also some, uninsurable conditions that we just cannot underwrite at all. And I guess, Amy, do you want to talk about those real quick while I have you on the phone still?
Yeah. So, they're pretty self-explanatory. If there's ever a history of dementia, Alzheimer's, memory loss, so if they're on Aricept, if they're on Namenda, any of those for memory loss, then they would not be eligible for coverage with us. Once again, if they have a history of sickle cell anemia, those type of things. If they've ever had congestive heart failure, so if it's ever had that, it may be managed now. The doctor may tell them it's under control and not a concern, but if they've ever had that history, then they're not eligible for coverage with us under this product.
Cool. Thank you, Amy. So again, it's not very often I actually get an underwriter on one of my webinars. And Amy, I really appreciate you popping on here and help me out. If you wouldn't mind just hanging out, if maybe we might have a couple questions for you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So again, I want to just kind of go back out to our little website, a microsite, that finalexpense.gcu.com. Again, that's where you find all those agent resources. You can go out and look at these agent resources prior to being contracted. You won't be able to do an e-application until you're contracted. So I urge you to kind of go out, get familiar with the underwriting guide, the premium rate book, just to kind of give you an idea what the premiums look like. That's old school. That's very old school, the rate book, but it's out there for you guys if you want it. And again, there's also the Irrevocable Burial Trust guide that you would want to go out and take a look at to see those things. And again, these are all printable. They're in a PDF format. You're able to go out and take a look at them. Some are quite a number of pages. But you can save it and be able to kind of take advantage of seeing those things. Again, we try to make it as easy and transparent as possible. And again, the e-application, the nice thing about the e-application and why we're really pushing that is because the application has to be in good order in order to get processed. So that means it's one and done. You're in front of the client, you're going through that process, you're not missing information, you're making sure that it's all listed on that application so we can actually get a decision as soon as possible to do that, because we know that speed of decision is really a critical moment for you in that sales process. That's why the instant decision is such an important piece. We have, our contact center for agent services at this number, 855-306-0608. We're located in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area, so we're East Coast time. So just know that we're available, 8:30 to 7 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and 8:30 to 5 p.m. Eastern time on Friday. So if you have, questions, please, don't hesitate to give them a call. They're there to help you, help answer those questions for you. If they don't know the answer, they'll get it for you. They'll get back to you. That's one of the things we pride ourselves on is our ability to, build relationships, because we want to do business with people who want to do business with us. And we feel that we're bringing a quality product to the market space that will make a difference in people's lives and also get you paid quickly as far as how it goes. So with that, Todd, I don't know if you want to open it up to see if there's any questions, or if you had any questions that showed up that Amy and I might be able to address.
No, yeah, let me open it up here. Does anyone, we have everyone muted, but if you do have any questions, put it in the Q&A box and be happy to read it. So Amy or Gary or both can answer the question for us. And it's a great product. It's also, especially that you can, one unique feature is that irrevocable trust. Like Gary said earlier, I think this is the second company that has this. So it's a very unique feature, and also you know, it helps playing in that Medicaid spend down arena. So if you have any questions, put it in the Q&A box and I'll read it so Gary and Amy can help answer the question on that. Also, in the meantime, like I said earlier, this is a brand new product that we just launched. And if you give us a call here at Senior Insurance Marketing, 877-800-3080, and we'll be happy to get you contracted with GCU so you can start selling this final expense product. It's a great product, and also be happy to talk to you more about this product as well too. Gary and Amy, I don't see any questions in the Q&A box, so I really appreciate you taking the time to help us launch this product. Again, give us a call here at Senior Insurance Marketing, 877-800-3080, and we'll be happy to help you get contracted with this company and send out the information for you as well too. Gary and Amy, thanks for going over this product information. We're excited here at Senior Insurance Marketing, and thanks for sharing this with you.
No problem. Thank you, everybody.
No problem.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Take care, everyone, and have a great day. And remember, give us a call here at Senior Insurance Marketing. We're here to help you grow your business. Take care.